So the creative people are here. This wonderful lady I met this evening, Mikey Kelly, informs me, which everyone needs to understand, how far back film goes in this city when they moved out of New York and moved west. Please, could you, Mikey, explain some of the beautiful information?
Well, I come from 4 generations of performers, founding members, and when I say founding members, I don't mean the people with the dough, I mean the people that sang, danced, acted. So they came in 1851 and ended up being the founding performing members of the first San Francisco Symphony, opera, Tivoli Opera, vaudeville, silent movies, talkies, and television. So, in my family, we have about, today, and people are still having babies, so who knows, 62 members in my family who are performers, historically. So, I'm here for a little ray of hope, because I don't really think that most people know or really celebrate how important we are and continue to be to the film industry, television industry, advertising industry, and what a significant part everybody plays in that. So I'm just going to do a little brief history. I'm not going to bore you to pieces. But in 1878, the first motion frames were invented by Leland Stanford. He's the guy that was one of the robber barons who built the railroads. And he and another man by the name of Edward Maybridge, they thought that it would be kind of cool to be able to shoot his racehorse. So they shot the horse at different periods in rapid succession, having him go around and around and around the track. And so they actually invented the very basic principles that motion picture is based on still today. And in 1880, they were so impressed with themselves because they had done by that time about 50, 60 of these little itsy-bitsy shorts, that they convinced an art academy in San Francisco, where the Bank of America building is, to let them show it to an audience. They thought, gee, maybe people would pay like 2 bits to see a movie, 50 cents. So the first audience in the world that ever saw a motion picture, when I say motion picture, moving, it was moving, right, was here. In 1890, by that time, there was a big buzz that there was something really amazing happening here. That, wow, maybe actors could actually get work. So people started coming from all over. People like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Fatty Arbuckle, and Mary Pickford, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr., and some of my family. So, little motion picture studios were kind of springing up all over, but there were 2 really important ones. And one was here in San Rafael, and it was founded in the late 1890s, and that was the California Motion Picture Company, which produced a lot of the westerns, and then of course, there was in Niles, there was the, I can never say this right, so any movie buff correct me, there was the Escenary. And the Escenary did all of the Chaplin films, the Buster Keaton films. I mean, just outrageous. When you talk about the Great Train Robbery, which was the first full-length movie, it was shot here. It happened here, not someplace else. Not some fantasy that it happened in Hollywood, it happened here. In 1927, the first talkie movie was shot in San Francisco, and that was The Jazz Singer. with Al Jolson. In the same year, there was a young guy by the name of Leon Douglas, and he had a little studio over here on Lincoln. And he had this idea that maybe, you know, these talking movies were so cool. Talking movies were so cool that maybe there'd be some way that he could, like, put color in it. So in a little lab on Lincoln Street here in San Rafael, color was invented for the motion picture industry. Then, so are you kind of surprised so far?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because we need to be proud.
That's the key word, pride.
This, I mean, because it continues. Then when HD launched, also when Hewlett-Packard launched in 1930, and everybody thought computers, they're going to be great for office, some of the younger people might not know that, you know, it used to be you typed something and if you made a mistake, it was like, oh my God. Or with computers, you could actually erase things. And so it was a big deal. But then by the time Apple came in, and all the other ones came in, all of a sudden that affected the motion picture industry. And it really changed things dramatically. So that by the time Lucas bowed in 1976, there was already technology. And once again, this gets back to, there's something really beautiful between technology and the arts. We're like, you know, kind of married at the hip. And so it made it possible for many of those things to actually happen. And Rose can, of course, talk infinitely better on all this and all the inventions that came out of here, because I have them all, but I know you.
In 1976.
Well, there's just one more thing
Yes.
that they need to know. And then I'm done. I'm totally done with my history lesson.
Can you type that all up and hand it out as leaflets to every single person?
So, in 1995, when Pixar moved here, opened up, Toy Story was the first complete digital animated film ever produced. So it's not like these things are all happening someplace else. They've all been happening here. And we should be really, really proud of that. And we should continue that and celebrate it and not be beaten down by Vancouver or whoever. Because we keep reinventing ourselves, and I think we have a bright future.
Rose, 1976.
1976, so I started my career working with George Lucas, and we should be very proud. This whole area has become such a hub of technology, the perfect marriage with Silicon Valley and motion pictures. And some of us, like me, kind of like the old-fashioned movies about story and character, but truthfully, we have to find a way to distinguish ourselves, because it is a business, and the business, the bottom line clearly takes you to Vancouver, to Prague, to Michigan, to other states. So we have to reinvent ourselves, and I feel that Kerner, as an outgrowth of Industrial Light and Magic and Lucasfilm, we have turned my mic up then. No, my mic should go up, right? Because that's what mics are for. Thank you. And also plenty more chairs in the back. So please grab yourself a chair if you're getting tired. But the point being that we need to distinguish ourselves in the film industry, and we're perfectly positioned to do that. Now, Kerner itself struggled. We're the spin-off from ILM. George took all the digital artists to the Presidio and left us behind, the people that work with their hands, that push lights around, that build miniatures and build sets, and then usually blow them up. Because that's kind of all that's left to us here at Kerner in the miniature and practical effects world. Everything else is digital. So rather than just sort of whine and cry about it, we're saying, okay, well, we've got all these artists. Let's see, we have a fabrication and a mold shop. We could build animatronic dummies that train medical people what to do when somebody steps on a landmine. I mean, that's what we're doing now. And I wish we were doing more movies, but these stages are booked 10% of the time, and we can't, that's not sustainable. So we're building animatronic dummies. We're working for the CIA. We're coming up with prototypes that I can't talk about. Because we want to stay alive, because we do want to buy time until we can all reinvent ourselves and make more movies, because that's why I got in this business, not to make animatronic dummies. I do see opportunities. The whole theme park world is livening up, and that's going to be using real-world effects, I call them, real-world hands-on artistry, because this area is so rich with talent, and it's just a matter of being creative and finding our niche and selling ourselves and making it as affordable as possible. I think we have to work with our union brothers and sisters to, not make, I mean, I love unions because unions gave us weekends, and I love my weekends. But we do need to find a way, because like all the commercial production that comes with it, they don't want to work with the union. And they pay people more than we pay our union guys. So it's not even the money. I'm not sure what it is. But we are working together with the union to come up with a solution, because I need every commercial that comes through this town, especially those car commercials on a rainy day. I mean, they should be here. Yeah. All right, I'm blabbering, but it should.